Well, thank you, Elaine, for agreeing to talk to us about the financial impact of living with young onset dementia. Now, you care for your husband, Lawrence, who lives with young onset dementia. Can you tell us a bit about your experiences of navigating that area? For instance, when did you first feel the impact financially?
I think we felt the financial impact before Lawrence's diagnosis more than after the diagnosis. He lost his job in 2017, and it was 4.5 years later that he was actually diagnosed. So he was 56 when he lost his job. And for that period of time, he was treated for anxiety and depression. So all of a sudden, we went from two incomes, and the larger of the two incomes suddenly wasn't there. So this to me was the hardest part, because one, you didn't know what was happening to Lawrence, because it didn't feel just like anxiety and depression to me, although I didn't know what it was. You know, I was phoning the doctors and saying he's crossing the road without looking, he can't tell the time, and giving them all these sort of functions that he wasn't able to do, but they never sent him for any tests. They just continued with tablets. So I've always worked in finance for a long time, so I just pulled our home budget apart for the last 12 months and then just rebuilt it to fit the income that was coming in. And obviously it takes a time to turn something like that round, to cancel everything and live differently. But I just felt so grateful that we didn't have a mortgage, we didn't have dependent children, and I'm watching families who are not in that kind of fortunate position. So that was the hardest part financially for us.
And that was all before Lawrence's diagnosis?
Oh yes, yeah. He tried to get a job. He tried to be a care worker, but he couldn't find addresses. He couldn't open the key safes. He tried to work in a warehouse, but they said he wasn't quick enough. So as time was going on, and he was changing in certain things, it became more obvious to me that he wasn't going to be able to work again. So I went and studied. I got myself on a course to get a better job. Luckily enough, I was able to. So I changed my job so that it paid a lot more. It was far more stressful, but it just felt that was the only option for us to do.
So the motivation for that was because you were stepping up to try and provide more.
Yeah. I was trying to bridge a gap.
Yes.
And also it was an unknown.
Yes.
Everything is so unknown. So that was the hardest financial time for us, because once he was diagnosed, it was a relief to me, because I felt as if I knew what I was dealing with. So then I was able then to see what was available, what support was available. And again, I felt myself lucky in the fact that I was still relatively young and I was used to finding out things. So I was able to find out all the benefits and grants or whatever there was available, and just applied for them.
Yeah. So going back to you saying your background was in finance, that was really helpful to
Yes,
you.
it was.
Yeah, from a point of view of budgetting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love it, which is a bit sad, but I suppose it kind of makes me tick. And so that bit was a little bit of home turf.
Yeah.
That was the kind of easy bit for me. But you know, it's an unknown journey.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing about this. And it's moving all the time. It's changing all the time. I'm finding now, although, okay, you've hit to a point where you think you're stable, but as his condition changes and his needs are becoming different, you're still exploring what the sort of rules of the game are. You know, what you're entitled to, what you're not entitled to, how much is reliant on your own savings. And the other big part that I've discovered is that areas are very different from each other. Local authorities have totally different ways of funding and supporting, and it really is a postcode lottery.
Yeah. So have you had any help in sort of navigating that, finding out how to apply for things and what is appropriate to apply for?
Yeah, in our circumstance, it was a long time before we got any support, and that was because Lawrence was so young. He was falling between elderly care and younger care, and he fell between the two. And so it took 9 months for them to get in touch with us. So by that time, I'd actually found what there was. I just sort of managed to navigate my way. But then since then, you meet different people, and you learn a lot from other carers. That's definitely true. Sort of practical, perhaps, tips you learn from other carers. But also, I found a local lady who works for our carers group, and she's just amazing at filling in these forms. So whenever I find anyone who needs help in filling in these forms, I point them to this lady called Ruth, who's amazing. You just find out as you go. It's very much it's just a journey. And that's the way I see it, and it's a journey that is changing all the time, and you just have to adapt and just try not to look too far ahead, because what happens to some people isn't necessarily going to happen to you, and vice versa. It's very much an individual journey. Yeah.
So you mentioned about taking on a role that paid more.
Yes.
And can you tell me a bit more how that evolved? You mentioned about things changing.
Well, I managed to keep the job for 2.5 years. I loved it. I can't say that I didn't, because I really did. It really pushed me, and I learned an awful lot. But at the same time, I was spinning the plate of home, and just that unknown of what was happening to Lawrence. And in the end, I came to a point where I couldn't manage anymore. I had to give the job up. But the time of it just worked. It got us through a period of time. And then I gave that job up, and then Lawrence's condition then changed again. And then, although I took on a job that I could work from home and was much less hours, I couldn't manage that, because however you try to spin the plates, your focus is on sort of the greater need, if you know what I mean.
So how should things be, Elaine? What would you like to see within social care, within the support for managing the financial impact?
Well, initially, that first diagnosis is so crucial in terms of finance. It would you'd be getting support 4.5 years earlier, but not just that. It wasn't just, money's a huge part. It makes the world go round, obviously, but it's that support of knowing that where to go, where you can go for help. And even now, I'm finding that I'm still searching for where to get the help at this particular stage, and you do find it. You do. You just keep searching. Our local hospice is an amazing resource. Our carers support in my area, they're lovely. They're there for you. It's finding what you need, finding where the support is, and also finding groups that work for the person. Lawrence is a certain character, and so some groups wouldn't be right for him. But because he's always spent his life mad about music, the Singing for Dementia just works for him. And so it's finding the right place that fits that right person at that right time. We used to go to another group, which was fine when we first started up, but as his condition changed, that wasn't the right place for him. And so this is where the journey evolves and the journey moves. And as far as your finance, you hit a point where you've got whatever there is. You know, it's not massive, but once you've hit that point, then it's a case of managing yourself, managing your own income and expenditure, and just getting on with life as best you can.
Yes, and balancing those costs of care with your priorities.
Oh, well, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
That again is where you come into your postcode lottery, I'm afraid. But it is what it is. You know, you don't want to be bitter about it. You just have to just find your own way. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Elaine. We really do appreciate it. Thank you for talking to us.